evil is growing because people are asleep. And they're being put asleep by using words like, I'm just anti-Israel. I'm just anti-Zionist. Anti-Israel, anti-Zionist is anti-Jew. It's anti-Semitism. By the way, that's not my quote. That's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Maybe the people on the left should remember the words of one of America's greatest heroes. What's going on in the world right now is not about the banks. It's not about land. It's not about resolutions. It's not about fairness. It's not about the settlements. It's about evil, and it is about hatred, pure and simple. And I have seen it grow with even fans of mine. I had a caller to my show a few weeks back that said, all the Jews, we should get all the Jews, they're causing the problems, they shouldn't live here. Oh, really? Well, should they live in Israel? No, that's the problem. Wait a minute, I thought you said the problem was here in America. Well, it's just the Jews. Well, where do they go? I swear to you, he paused for a second and then said, Madagascar. Did you even come up with Madagascar? 109 times. 109 times. We as Americans have a unique responsibility. Here in New York, with the Statue of Liberty, what is her name? The Mother of Exiles. Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses. What does that even mean? That means give me the people that nobody else wants. We have a responsibility. The White House talks about a responsibility to protect my eye. We have a responsibility as citizens to protect. The flame in her torch is imprisoned lightning. Lightning comes from God. All we have to do is stand in his shadow. Stand where he tells us to stand. Be better than we are today, tomorrow. We are all brothers and sisters. I have read about Gandhi. I have read about Martin Luther King. I have read about Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Most people don't even know who Dietrich Bonhoeffer even is. And they don't know who he is because he failed. But he was the first Lutheran in Germany to stand up, the first minister to stand up. They took him off the air. The day that Hitler took power, seized power, he was giving a sermon on radio called the Führer Principle. He said it was wrong. They took him off the air. That man survived. He went down swinging. He survived until 15 days before Hitler killed himself. He fought and fought and stood and stood. And as I tried to figure out how to stop the madness, I have looked at the people who have tried to do it before. I couldn't figure out why Dietrich Bonhoeffer failed. Until I went to Auschwitz. And I met with this wonderful, righteous gentleman who had saved her family and her about 500 Jewish people. She was a teenager. She was out in the street when you could when Jewish people were not allowed to have more than 250 calories a day. And her neighbors were wasting away. The young girl stopped her and said, "Please, I'm starving." The law was, if you fed the Jew, you would die. And not only you, but your whole family. She said, "Come back tomorrow." She went to her parents, and her mother put on a big pot of soup. Paulina met the young girl with a bowl of soup the next day, but she had got friends and family. The family knew what the right thing to do was. And so they did. 500 people, they said. I spent the afternoon with her in Poland. And after we finished recording an interview, the two of us left. And I said, "Paulina, the greatest sin is that there's not a forest, of trees that are planted in Israel for the righteous among the nations. We are all born with that righteousness in us. I sense trouble is coming again. How do you water that righteousness?" She told me two things. One, God. The people must turn to God. They must believe in something bigger than them. They must be loyal to God. And the next thing, she told me, I pondered for days. And it is the secret. She said, "Remember, the righteous did not suddenly become righteous. They just refused to go over the cliff with the rest of society." That's what we must do. We must hold on to each other. Because the world is sucking us off a cliff. We must hold on to each other. We must put our differences aside and unite with the God of Abraham. Only He will save us if we're standing where we're supposed to stand. We are not to lose our humanity. If any powerful government would say again, "No soup," we make a pot of soup. And we stand in righteousness. We stand in sanity. We must refuse to relinquish common sense. We must refuse to relinquish our humanity. And what will give us strength is to not meet and say, "How much trouble is Israel in? How much trouble are we in?" What will give us strength is to say, how much the enemies of mankind, how much trouble are they in? of Israel in. They are not enemies of mine. They are not enemies of yours. They are enemies of his. And he is the great equalizer.